I'm Jeff. Just by the show of hands, who's new in the last, well, you guys have been, who's after this class? Let's see. Who's new here? You? One? Just one?
I have.
Where did they distribute the rest of your classmates?
You know, they kept the best
We've
on
got a
C crew,
couple
so
See, okay. Couple more on C, go?
They're on call.
there's a few
Oh,
more.
on calls, okay.
One's on call, one's on vacation today.
Gotcha, vacation's always good.
Yeah.
Super. Well, good. So, just so you are aware, first responders first. There's Sarah is over here, and I'll have her introduce herself to you. I brought my dog, Serenity, and I brought my son because he's not doing anything until he goes to college. What, in a couple days? His name's Cole. He's like a dog, right? Yeah, that's cool. So, yeah. So, Sarah, you want to just say hi real fast?
I think everybody
You
knows.
might have to come up front so people can see you.
We got some people zooming in.
They can see you from up here too?
Yeah.
Even though I can't see
good.
them?
That's good. You don't need to get in the light. There you go. Perfect. I can see you.
Oh, there I am, okay. I think everybody knows I've met with most of you. For those of you who don't know me, I work with first responders first and I do the check-ins. And so those are going to be getting scheduled here again pretty soon. And the last round went really well. I loved meeting with each and every one of you. It was just a great experience. There's a few people I didn't get to meet with, but we're doing those again. And I am a former EMT, former dispatcher, retired counselor, and now I'm getting to do this, which I love my job. So that's a little bit about me.
Okay, awesome. Thanks. Let's see. I guess we jump into it. Any questions? Let me tell you this. So we have, and you might have known, but just as a reiteration, you and your significant other or spouse, including if you separate or retire, have access to utilize our services at no cost to you. Okay? So that's kind of
Separated or retired,
yep,
so our retired guys can come to you.
100%.
Oh, I did not know that. That's
Yep.
3
years after when I first contact.
3 years?
Yeah.
Not 3 years from retirement.
3 years
20
from
years.
when, so 3 years of services. Okay, cool.
Yep.
That is awesome, I didn't know.
Yeah. So, yeah, if anybody needs it, wants it, help. And now we have about, we have a couple dozen therapists all over the state of Utah. You can do telehealth or in-person stuff. So just so you know. And if you get with somebody and it's not a good fit, then
Just check.
call or text Sarah. Sarah's phone number and contact information is right here. I'll just say it out loud really fast for people 54. It's 801-391-6683. So I would recommend, if you don't need it for you, put it in your phone. So take out your phone if you haven't had it in there, and my information there is there as well. But if you don't need it, maybe somebody else does. So 801-391-6683 is Sarah. Sarah without an H, and she's terrific. So you can, there you go. Now
Hi, sorry.
bring them up to speed. Welcome. Just kidding. All right. So sleep hygiene. It's absolutely super crucial and critical to our well-being. But let's just talk about this. There's no police officers, even though the police officers were invited. I know. They didn't come. We'll have to figure something out. I will tell you this from a law enforcement background myself, and turned clinician. Okay, as a cop, I realized, you know what? Firefighters really have mental health they're light years ahead. You are light years ahead of dispatch and police for mental health. It's just by nature of the job, so it's good. I applaud you. Okay, let me just ask you this. On average, I'm just going to pick on a few of you. Okay, on average, how many hours of continuous, uninterrupted sleep do you get a night on your days off? Let's start right here.
6 to 7?
6 to 7. Okay.
Does that count getting up to pee?
No.
He's asleep on it, does it?
Well, I got a funny story about that. So I come back from Iraq, and I remember I hear a noise in the night, and I wake up, but my son, older than him, not him. Maybe it was him. No, it was my older son. And he's asleep and peeing on the door of the of the bathroom. He didn't get in. It was kind of crazy. Another funny, just kind of silly, funny story, because it just brings up a memory in that same area, that same house. The door was cracked like this when he was going to the bathroom. He was just super tiny. And he had pulled his pants down to his ankles and was going to the bathroom just standing there like this. And then at the end, he smacked his rear end like that. I'm like, what in the world? And my wife said, well, I'm not going to teach him to shake it. I'm like, oh boy. So it was just kind of funny. This is kind of funny. Anyway, okay, so how many hours of uninterrupted sleep do you
I
get?
regularly wake up between 3 and 4, so 2 threes.
Two or
6.
2 threes. Okay. What about you?
About 6 to 8.
6 to 8. Okay. Captain?
He's not
You have to have days off to have that. So.
right.
Probably, I'd say at the best case scenario, 2 hours.
2 hours. Okay. That's pretty interrupted. Thanks for being honest.
Yeah, probably
3? Okay.
4 to 6.
Okay. So who in here works at a second job either in EMS or fire? Look at all those hands. Okay. So sometimes that adds to more interruption, depending on if you're at a slow station or not, right? Okay. Well, sheesh. That creates problems. Here's what the science says. So I've done I've read books on sleep, I've slept, I've practiced. I've read a whole lot of studies. At the end of this there's a whole bunch of references where it's all evidence-based, okay? When we're teenagers, interestingly, teenagers tend to stay up later because they need that. The science says they need it, and they need more sleep. So sometimes waking these kids up early and letting them go to school, or when you're teenagers, it's actually not healthy. It would be way better by science to push the start time of school later. I can't stand it when my kids are up. When I get grumpy and tired, and then I've told my little kids, I'm pretty straightforward with them. I'm like, get out of here right now because I'm gonna make love to your mom. You know, we have 6 kids, so I'm like, ooh, and they hurry up and leave. I'm like, get out of here. I just want them to go to bed, right? And I'm not always lucky. I don't know why I said that. Sorry. All right. The WHO says that we have a global epidemic of sleepiness. Okay. CDC says we need 7 hours of uninterrupted sleep a night. 7 hours. That's the recommendation for adults. Here's the main point about teaching all of this, okay? First responders first, we're here for mental health. This is the biggest challenge when it comes to us and our wellness. That right there. Sadness and depression, worry, fear, and anxiety of the future, and then it can lead to suicide ideation. And I will tell you, having met with and talked with and counseled with multiple firefighters, dispatchers, and police officers who are suicidal, I always ask them 2 things. How much sleep are you getting? And it's always not enough, always. And I ask how much alcohol you're drinking, how much you're drinking. Usually the alcohol is way higher. This isn't the class on suicide. Maybe it will be one of those in the future. Alcohol is for completed suicides for police officers and firefighters. 90% of those who take complete suicide have alcohol on board for police officers and firefighters. 90%. Okay? So sometimes when you can't sleep, you drink more. Sometimes when you're drinking more, you can't sleep because it actually big time jacks up with your sleep. It'll make you sleepy, but it doesn't give you good sleep. Okay? All right. So here's some other things. Weakens your immune system. Okay? Stress, if you're already in a sympathetic nervous system activation on an ongoing basis, it will slowly start to deteriorate your health and your wellness. So you're prone to get sick quicker. Cancer, actually, I know there's no cops in here, but if they were working on a continual night shift, or those who are working in the hospital, who works in the hospital? You work in the hospital, okay. If you're doing like a night shift on a constant basis, there's even been studies on lack of vitamin D and the causality of suicide, okay. My brother-in-law is a cop in Colorado, and he went and got tested, and he said my vitamin D was so deficient, but he was on grades for 6 years. I'm like, yeah, it'll jack with you. We need that sunlight. So, but also nurses and other people in shift work, especially those who work at night. There's studies been done that says, yeah, more cancer, there's more prevalence of certain types of cancer because of shift work. Okay, more risk of Alzheimer's and prediabetes. Actually, pre-diabetic stuff is huge with first responders, huge. And I think there's a correlation with sleep because I've read different studies of both. All right, this is a fantastic book, Why We Sleep. If you're interested in being geeky or nerdy, I highly recommend it. I learned a whole lot from it. And I've also, if you want to really learn about some pretty cool stuff, Andrew Huberman Labs podcast, he does some fantastic podcasts on shift work and regaining your sleep. Just some fantastic stuff, and it's all evidence-based, which I've only listened to a few of his podcasts, but I really like him because it's all science. Okay, so here's some of the problems that we're going to have. And by the way, and I haven't seen it in firefighters, maybe it's because I haven't noticed as much over the years, but I know with police officers, as soon as they retire, heart failure, cardiovascular disease skyrockets. And the average age is like a 42. Okay, so only a few years post-retirement for police officers, death comes. I would bet it's probably somewhat similar in the fire service. Okay. By the way, my son, the one who I was telling the P stories about. Yeah, you're welcome. He just got hired as a firefighter, and anyway, kind of interesting. It's in the blood, I guess. All right, increased risk for heart disease problems. If that's wait a minute. 5 to 6 hours a night. So a few of you, look at the risk that you're taking. All right. So here's the other stuff. Poor attention. Now, oftentimes kids have been diagnosed more now than ever before with ADHD. A lot of that could be, and there have been shown and studies been done that says that it's a lack of sleep, not necessarily ADHD or ADD. Okay? It's a lack of sleep. And so sometimes the causations, including poor concentration, which is a subcategory of post-traumatic stress, it might just be lack of sleep. Okay? Because there are all kinds of symptomology that you and I could have from post-traumatic stressors, but some of them correlate very congruently, so to speak, with a lack of sleep. And by the way, I've mentioned it to you before. I don't really like calling it post-traumatic stress disorder. I like saying, you know what makes more sense is emergency responder exhaustion syndrome. Now, I've said it here before, but it's been a while. It has 4 components. Anybody remember? Okay, it's sadness and depression. What's the other one? Isolation and withdrawal, physical exhaustion, and emotional exhaustion. It's burnout. Okay? All of us can identify with that because there is burnout, and burnout has happened, and burnout may be happening to you right now. Guess what? Okay, let's talk about it. Sometimes talking about it's the hardest thing, and I'll tell you this. I had a firefighter who had over 20 years come to my office not too long ago. Actually, he texted me first and he said, you know what, I feel like you're the first person I can actually talk with who gets it. And it was an honor for him to talk to me. I appreciated that. I had other buddies and cops and who over 20 years and like, you know what, yeah, I think I need to come talk to you. I've been drinking way too much. I need to stop. My spouse says I need to stop, and I need to kind of get a hold of it. It is ultra hard, or it can be ultra hard to say, okay, I need to take that next step and go talk to somebody. But I recommend just texting Sarah. Okay? Just talk. It will help tremendously. It doesn't mean you need to go see anybody. You could go see Sarah for that matter. We have coaches, and she can fulfill that role even though she has a counseling background, right? She's does coaches. We have other coaches who are firefighters and police officers too. Okay? Just talk and just normalize the fact that, oh yeah, I'm feeling a little bit of sadness. I'm feeling a little bit of isolation and withdrawal and physical and emotional exhaustion, kind of burnout of work or both of my jobs or 4 of my jobs, okay, on some of you. Okay, so here's the other stuff. Difficulty concentrating, right? Irritability. I'm going to point at a few of you and just tell me on here, either something on here or something else. Kind of look at one and say, what is it? What is one of the things that happens to me because of lack of sleep? All right, back row.
Well, I know it's not the obesity. Yeah, obesity, weight gain.
Okay. Here's the interesting thing. Lack of sleep causes it. The science shows it. Now, it does make us want to crave more sugary and salty foods and more junk food, carbs, okay? But even if we weren't eating that, it causes weight gain, the lack of sleep. It's kind of weird. And every body is a little bit different. So sometimes our bodies can metabolize in different levels, and the lack of sleep can exacerbate that. All right, you're up with something that might happen.
Poor attention.
Poor attention.
If I don't sleep good, I can't focus.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, big time. Chris.
I get the micro sleep.
Oh, no
Sit
kidding.
down and just pass out.
Yeah. 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 What about you?
Difficulty concentrating.
Yeah. Go ahead.
All of them?
Oh,
She's like stroke.
probably not feeling refreshed, I guess.
Okay. All right. Reproductive issues. Okay. It changes our body chemistry. Now, if we talk about the sympathetic nervous system activation, okay, sympathetic nervous system activation will change us chemically. It changes our digestive system. It shuts off our immune system. And also stress, because of sympathetic nervous system activation, can change our reproductive issues, okay? In women, changes reproductive cycles. In men and or women, it can cause sexual dysfunction as well, okay? But look at that second one. You know who uses the most T at any category? First responders. Okay? I just went to breakfast this morning with my cousin, and he's using testosterone. He's like, he's trying to be buff-like. What is it that's happening to our body chemistry? And sometimes, getting testosterone is good. But if we take care of our bodies and get sleep, now the older we get, the less sleep we get. Let me just point out that. The older we get, we do wake up more to pee, okay? The older we get, we just tend to wake up more. But the older we get, our testosterone can go down. But there's a doctor, he's on my little brother has a podcast, Be the Man podcast, and he interviewed this doctor who's super popular over the United States, who does, anyway, he said, this doctor says, look, I eat right, I exercise, I eat right, because he really focuses on eating right and exercise and getting enough sleep. And he said, he talked about his levels of testosterone. My brother said, what, you're that high? Because he's, I think he's in his mid or late 50s. And he says, yeah. Some of it has to do with genetics, but a lot of it has to do with our lifestyle and what we're doing with our bodies. And that includes sleep, okay? All right, look at that. Correlated with relationship issues. Anybody who hasn't had any relationship issues, well, then you're not human. Okay? It's a normal thing to have some relationship issues. Okay? It's normal. But actually, you can have help. The more sleep you receive, the better off that you can be, because you'll be less irritable. Okay? At least I will be. All right. This is interesting. Look at that. You like your job less when you're more sleepy. You're more unethical. I'm talking about all these studies. It's fascinating to me. I'm like, are you kidding me? A lack of sleep does this? You mean I'm more irritated with people at work as a lack of sleep?
So I want to know why the white helmet has a nozzle.
I was wondering the same thing there. Probably because the firefighters were dragging their feet.
The firefighter probably
You're
got his
gonna have
helmet.
to, you're gonna have to change
Firefighters
that
are dragging.
picture.
Wait a minute, what's happening?
Yeah, you're
White
gonna
hat
have
is
to
a
change
chief
that
officer.
picture.
Oh, gotcha. You know, I just Googled
You'll
something.
lose people on that slide.
Well, you notice how much the backup firefighter's backing him up though, like, he is controlling the nozzle really. If he was doing nozzle forward and the chief came in and snaked it.
That's what's gonna happen.
I was gonna say it was Jason, but it's not an innovation. So.
Yeah, he's got a helmet.
Yeah, he's
so-
got a gear on.
He's not got.
That's what you get when you get a cop making a firefighter picture presentation. So speaking of leaders on the side, look at this. Leaders are viewed and actually become less charismatic if they're sleep deprived, and they're meaner, and they make others not want to work. And I will tell you this, and I've seen it a lot. Stress, and I think a lack of sleep, because sometimes stress brings a lack of sleep, but lack of sleep brings stress, can make poor decision making. And when you have leaders making poor decision making, it affects everybody, okay, including the leader. But 6 hours of sleep or less, look at that. More deviant, more likely to lie, more likely to blame others and not doing their job. Here's something that interesting happened. Lots of studies did this, says, you know what? They took a bunch of residents and then they took a bunch of doctors and they said, okay, let's just make decisions on diagnoses. They were getting massively wrong. They were getting it wrong, the less sleep they were getting. The science has come so far with sleeping that the military's even changed stuff. Anybody in the military previously or now? Okay. It was awful. Back in the day, I'm like, they used to torture us. Well, actually, torture is used. Sleep deprivation is used in torture. Okay. But now they're like, no, you know what? When you're downrange or doing something, get more sleep. More sleep will help you perform better. Okay? They've changed stuff. Now, who's been awake for 19 hours and been driving? Who's the engineers in here? Okay. And then in general, who's been awake 19 hours and have driven? Yeah. That's illegal in the state of Utah by comparison because it's 0.05 BAC. That's illegal. I will tell you, if you have a micro sleep when you're driving, by the way, guilty. Coming home from night shifts, me and grave shift didn't work well. Coming home from grave, I'll tell you this, I'm absolutely shocked that more accidents don't happen among firefighters on the way home, or we don't hear, maybe I don't hear about it. I am completely shocked. Because on your second day, you haven't gotten much sleep, and then you're like, well, instead of just going and sleeping prior to driving home, you're just driving home. So maybe you're drinking a Rockstar, I don't know. But the fact is, it is completely dangerous, especially because some firefighters live super far away from where they work. It is shocking to me that we don't have more firefighter accidents and deaths on their POV going home. So what do we do about it? I don't know. I don't know exactly about that.
Eat sunflower seeds.
Sunflower seeds. The science, and I did put this in the presentation, the science shows that turning up the radio or rolling down the window doesn't work. And you know what I used to do? Slap myself really hard or sometimes pinch myself. And I'd still fall asleep on microsleep driving on I-15 or at a stop sign. And I'm like, the last thing I want to do is pull over to the road in my police car and uniform and with my uniform and sleep on the side of the road really fast. That's the last thing I want to do, right? But holy moly. Jeez. All right. We know it's used in interrogation and torture. By the way, I had a buddy of mine in Delta Force. In a secret government agency. He told me, he goes, dang, Jeff, I'm getting investigated for killing somebody. It was a high value target, this is years ago. And he goes, he was old, he just died. And he told me what happened and what he did. And like 2 months later, I was watching the news and it's like, secretive Delta Force compound. And I think it was in Iraq, it might have been Afghanistan. He's like, being investigated. He got cleared, because the guy was old. Anyway, I don't know why I brought that up. Look, because enhanced interrogation is something I did to my kids. I'm just kidding.
We'll go with source on that.
He's old now. He's an adult. We're going to really hammer him now. Okay, question. Why don't we get more sleep? Why don't we? If we know some of these things, and you have known some of these things, why don't you get more sleep?
Not enough time in the day. There's other crap that has to get
There's stuff that needs to be done.
feel frustrated and unproductive when I nap.
Oh, okay. Okay, we'll talk about naps, because napping is crucial.
Napping is-
At least for me, over the years, I don't know exactly the mechanism of it, but I feel like the job has ruined my sleep. And
Yeah.
I've been trying to regain that
Yeah.
and being somewhat successful, but it's just one of those, like, when a third of your life, and for some of us, half of our lives spent in the fire department, and you're on edge all the time, you're in bed, and you're laying there, okay, when's the next call coming, you know, those things really get after you, and those habits carry over,
Yeah.
those worries and those stresses carry over to home life too. There's times that I just lay at home and it's just like, I know I'm not waiting for a call, but at the same time, it's just like I'm on the ready
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
We're the type of personality, most of us in this job we're solution-based people. And that's always on. So, and that always puts us second. So whether we're solving issues here or we're solving issues outside of work, someone needs our help doing something. And the result of that is just honestly putting ourselves on the back burner, and we're worst enemy, so.
Very insightful. You're in here.
I can't turn off my brain.
Right.
I just sit there and it just goes and it goes.
Yeah, we'll talk about some of the things that we can do to help. I will interject here and say, there is something known as, well, I think it's in the slide, so maybe I'll just leave it in there. But it's like, we're so amped up because of the sympathetic nervous system, okay, activation. And we don't even know it, because after a while, it's like you can run code, you can intubate, you can do CPR without really feeling much. You're like, I'm used to it, I'm like, you just go and you just do it. But in the back end, your brain is still activated and it doesn't even know. So your brain is activated saying, I need to calm down, but it's hard to calm down. That's a huge issue.
As I mentioned, dopamine stimulation, just all the, whether it's technology or whatever we use to be able to get a dopamine stimulation, like we're constantly between everything that we're doing and the amount of pressure it puts on us, we're constantly trying to cope from the things we're doing, so it's easier to use other things like technology or whatever to be able to cope with those.
Yep.
Rather than sleeping.
100%. We'll talk more about that too.
Poor sleep hygiene too. I mean, just not firefighters, but society in general.
Yep.
We have horrible sleep hygiene, you know, because of technology and all those things. Like,
Dopamine.
it's hard to sleep when you got a blue screen right in front of your face and
Yes, it
you're
does.
doom scrolling till the end of the night. You know?
Yes, yep.
I think for me, it's probably like a routine, right? Like most people can work, get up, go from like 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. They get to come home, get to go to bed at the same time every day. You know, for 48 hours, we're kind of woken up randomly,
Mhm.
and then we're off for 4 days. And maybe you can have a little routine, but then it gets broken every single time you come to shift.
That is the bane of your existence. And what you do is fantastic, and society needs you, and you like it, and maybe you hate it right now, but if you do, call Sarah, okay? But what you do is important, and you are sacrificing. I like how you put it. It's like you're putting other people first, and that's what you're doing when you're working, okay? But you can't help. You can't help anyone. So you can't help anyone else unless you are half decent. If you are doing half well yourself. So a lot of times we say, well, it's selfish to just to take care of myself first. We need to be serving others. That servant leadership kind of thing. Well, okay, serving is good, but you can't help other people if you are not helping yourself. I can't be a good dad. I can't be a good employee. I can't be great at what I'm doing unless I'm balanced myself. So some of it is taking that time to say, okay, how can I get balanced? One of our coaches and a good friend of mine, Targi Williams, somebody might know Targi, he told me after he retired 25 years as a captain at Ogden Fire, he's like, yeah, I still wake up all the time at night. You can't go from I think it's 25 years, no, maybe 20, I don't know. Anyway, whatever he did, he's like, you go for years, and then little noises in the night will wake you up automatically. Now here's something I learned from Lane Hill. Lane said that sometimes our cortisol levels are high, okay, that's stress hormone, and that would cause us just to wake up at dark 30. And all of a sudden we're just awake. I'm like, dang it, what is going on? Why am I just waking up in the middle of the night? So sometimes that could be some cortisol levels. Okay, when dopamine or serotonin start to deplete and cortisol starts to rise, that just throws us off balance a little bit. I may have told you this before, but I think it's a good idea to talk to a preventative medicine specialist. Get stuff measured first. Kind of figure out, okay, what's my levels? And then they can adjust way before a normal physician, a general practitioner, would say, well, your levels are okay. But preventative medicine or functional medicine, they'll get to measure stuff out here to say, hey, look, you need to check this and this and this, and let's get you on a better scale. That will help us psychologically and physically because our bodies keep the score, okay? All great points. Some of the stats here, sorry, I'm talking this way because I have to look. Well, I'll talk this way. More than half of all police officers, well, let's not talk about police officers. There's only one of them here. Sleep disorders among firefighters, 30%. When I saw that, I'm like, so they did a study from 23-year study, and this is from 2023, from last year. And they took all the studies they took multiple studies, okay? And then they combined them together and they said it's 30%. I'm like, well, a third of you have sleep disorders. To me, I'm like, it's probably higher than that. But that's what they found, okay? A prevalence of poor sleep quality was determined at 51%. So over 50% poor sleep quality. I don't know if that was measured specifically for at work. I would say it's life. Because as you mentioned, it's like, wait, what do you do on your days off? Or like I mentioned about Target, like what do you do when you retire? So half of you have sleep disturbance issues. Now, we look at truck drivers and pilots. Guess what? They'll shut you down. Sorry, you cannot fly, you cannot drive, you cannot operate unless you have a certain amount of sleep. Why haven't we done that for ourselves? Poor decision. We already talked about medical poor decision making when you're fatigued. And I know you all are running medical stuff more than fires. Okay? Why don't we have restorative rest policies? Or do you actually? Do you have a restorative rest policy?
No.
Nope. That's because it's like, hey, well, you're firefighters, you sleep here. So you should be all right. But what about having times where you can say, you know what, you guys were up, go take a power nap. No, there's too much stuff to do. I will tell you this, and I don't know the answer. Maybe some brainstorming here could help. But I will tell you from a law enforcement perspective, Las Vegas Metro Police Department decided to put a bunch of sleep places all around Vegas. Right? Sleeping in Vegas? What? We don't know what those rooms were used for. Just kidding. They said, hey, Sarge, let me just go take a nap. Go. They determined that the levels of use of force after that, so they implemented it 6 months. Levels of use of force went down by 60%. Yeah. It's not just because a couple of them were away sleeping. That didn't change it. What do you think changed it?
Decision making. Suddenly have more patience.
Decision making, settle down, say it again.
Have more patience.
More patience. That's the biggest thing. I can tell you, I can specifically remember a handful of times when I was in the military, or military specifically, but I was military law enforcement and I did some other stuff in the military, but I'm like, the amount of crankiness and the teamwork stuff that started to deplete was because when we were tired. Like we've been up days with little sleep, doing hard stuff. It's cool to know that, guess what, you can do it. You can. But it just doesn't work out great. And those people who say, and this doesn't come from me, this comes from Dr. Walker, one of the experts. I would call him the foremost expert on sleep. Okay? He says, there are people who say, yeah, I can survive on 4 hours sleep. He goes, yeah, you can survive. But he says, yeah, I'm okay, I can operate. He goes, it is extremely rare that people can really do that. I know a handful of people who have told me that. I know a cop who told me that, and then getting in some trouble because of different stuff at work and other stuff. It's like, well, what is a cause, or is there a causation to behavior and thinking? Behavior and acts, and some of those decisions making, which could be risk-taking decision, are just the means for saying, I want some dopamine again to feel alive because I'm not feeling well, when maybe sleep could have balanced a little bit. I don't know. What causes it? What do you think? Life. Touche. What else? For you, what do you think? Kids? Yeah. Yes. Who has children under 5? Oh, yeah. Who has, have you ever had a kid jumping in your bed in the middle of the night, you're too tired to kick them out, and they turn sideways and they start kicking you? That's just great. Right? No. Kids? What else?
Stress.
Stress. Huge. Stress. Stress will just keep you awake. So what are you going to figure out? Okay, I need to balance myself to alleviate stress. Okay, and there's ways to do that, but let's look at that. Okay, kids for sure, animals. Who has an animal in the room? Dog. Who has dogs? Cats. Okay, so sometimes those noises and just all that stuff can be disruptive. Sometimes with anyway, it can be. I've seen it, and my wife said here on Instagram, it says that having your dog sleep close to you is good for you. I'm like, I don't know. I haven't seen any science on that. It's not Instagram science. Okay, I don't know about that. I haven't seen it. Now I haven't gone and searched for it either, because every time I go to teach a class, my dog jumps up in bed. She never does when I'm there. I'm like, don't let my dog sleep in the bed. Ah! So I come home and she's up on the bed. No! Anyway. Oh, let's see. Well, let's see. There it is. Okay. All right. So here's a handful of stuff. Light. Who has blackout curtains in their room? Okay. Totally beneficial. 100% good. Who has any kind of ambient light that shines in their room? Who does? Who has an alarm clock in their room? Okay, so anyone with alarm. So you guys don't sleep with an alarm clock in your room? Like zero ambient light? Or what about mechanical or something? You don't? I'll tell you, some of the sciences don't even have a clock there. Some of it. Because you don't wake up and look at the clock. Wake up and look at the clock. But I don't know. To me, it's nice to have a clock so I can figure out what time I'm getting up in the middle of the night. Okay? Any kind of light is disastrous. In fact, the science has shown that it's best to turn to dim all lights 1 hour before going to bed. All lights. Now, blue light, we know blue light is ultra, will keep us awake, okay? Yeah, it just will. So trying to dim the lights, and I have a lower watt light bulb on my reading lamp by my bed, and my wife's is super bright. And even last night I was like, can we just please just buy a different bulb for that? That thing is so bright. I try to do that, and she's like, I'm not believing that. I'm like, it's science. It's science. It's science. Noise, room temperature. What temperature should we have it at?
90 degrees.
50. 90? 50? That's a big gap.
I'm down for 50.
So my son just came back from the Philippines where it's super hot. I'm like, why are you wearing a long sleeve shirt? And then I have one on, but his is thick. He's like, I haven't acclimated yet. 90 degrees? You're joking.
Just kidding.
50? Do you really like it that cold?
I would, but yeah.
Are you married?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're usually, like wintertime, maybe 66, and then
Okay.
Summer 70.
Who all has somebody else sleeping in their room with them?
Yeah.
Okay. Who has differences of temperature of somebody sleeping in your? About everybody. I will tell you that's a huge thing. The science says between 67 between 65 and 68 degrees. I've woken up this last week, like every night this last week in the middle of the night, and I know why. I am hot, and my wife sometimes turns the temperature. I turn that thing so in the nighttime when I'm supposed to be sleeping, I want it lower. I wake up hot. Okay? Now, sometimes I'm cold and my bald head, I have to put a beanie on, but so we need to adjust our temperature. That's going to be key. Our body temperature actually, it's interesting what happens with our body temperature. If you raise your body temperature, you will not be able to go to sleep. So if you're raising your body temperature, you do that by working out, okay? So don't work out 3 hours before going to bed. And my cousin told me this morning, he goes, yeah, I went to the gym and I took a pre-workout at 5 p.m. once, and then I was up at midnight thinking, why can't I go to sleep? I'm like, yeah, it's kind of funny. That body temperature changes. So one of the things you can do is wash your hands and face. Just run it under water, splash it on your face. Take a shower, it doesn't matter if it's hot or cool. Take a hot bath, you can do that. Because what happens is after you shower or bathe, once you get out, it will cool your skin. And just like sometimes with little kids, they stick their feet out of the bottom of the sheets. I do that actually. Okay, your hands, your feet, and your head will need to adjust temperature. We need to adjust temperature to go to sleep. That's it's stuff.
One thing that I found recently over the last 6 months that helps my quality of sleep much better is getting one of those white noise machines.
White noise. Yep.
It's done awesome
Yeah.
things.
I'm really
for the
glad you
quality.
mentioned it. I'm super glad you mentioned that actually. Yeah, that can be ultra beneficial. I was talking to a firefighter and doing some counseling, and he's like, it's frustrating for me because my wife likes to have the television on so she can have some kind of noise. That's her white noise. And he goes, it's bright and he goes, I can't go to sleep. So, you know, there's differences in us and how we sleep and our partners, okay? If we're too hungry, it's not good, but if we eat too late, it's not good. If we eat carbs, or especially sugars before going to bed, what's it gonna do? It's just gonna translate and it's gonna transition to give us more energy. It'll keep us awake. We gotta be careful. Alcohol, okay? If I ask who, by the show of hands, you don't have to raise your hand, who drinks to go to sleep, that might be a indication of like, well, okay, I can get to sleep just fine. Okay, it's actually not healthy, especially if you're drinking alone. Now, will it make you fatigued? Absolutely. Okay, will it have good sleep? No. And I thought about putting something all in here about the science of alcohol and sleep, but I decided not to. Okay, illness, pain, nicotine. Nicotine will actually keep you awake. It's a stimulant. Caffeine. If you need some caffeine, the science says don't do it past, I think it says 1 p.m.
I read a study said 3.
I was going to say that too. I was going to say either 1 or 3.
Like
I'm glad you said
your
I'm glad you said that.
Your max dose of caffeine you should drink a day is 600 milligrams, and it's only, and don't drink it past 3.
Okay.
That's what I've stated.
Yeah, I think you're right. So I've seen 2 different things, and I was thinking it's either 1 or 3. And I should have said it out loud before you said it, but I'm glad you did. Okay. But here's the thing: it has a half-life. So if you drink 125, I think it's 125, 150 milligrams. After that, it's going to have that half-life and keep you up. Now, what Dave Grossman, if you know Dave Grossman, he was a West Point psychologist, and he goes around the nation speaking on stuff. And he says, look, if you need some caffeine to wake you up, do it. But he goes, if you're drinking caffeine every day because you need it, you're not getting enough sleep the night before. So you can just keep that in mind. It has a half-life, so be careful. So after 3, you'll be good. The older you get, more it happens. Okay. All right. Who has CPAP? If you want to admit it. nobody, me, I'm an old man, okay? So sometimes if we have breathing problems when we're sleeping, that can create big issues. Sometimes they do CPAPs, or sometimes they actually have, you could put some kind of dental thing in your mouth so it doesn't disrupt you. You can actually get more oxygen at night, okay? This stuff gets serious. I used it and I used it for a few months and it was great, and then I just stopped using it because it was loud and kind of annoying. It woke me up every night. So what about sleeping aids? So if you take enough, if you take melatonin on a constant and regular basis, your body will stop producing it. Okay? There are times where if you're going to take it, I actually had a doctor once tell me, okay, just put a melatonin under your tongue while your lights are off and you're laying down, and just let it dissolve, and then you can go try to go to sleep. That's what she said, right? That doctor. That's funny. It's not. So sometimes it's like, it depends. Maybe what you're drinking, what you're eating or ingesting, it can change some of the chemicals in your body to make you more sleepy. Okay, and it depends. It depends on what it is. I've read some of the studies say just don't do anything. We probably have known some stories about Ambien, and maybe there's some stories that you have about Ambien. Okay, so whether it's Ambien, whether it's trazodone, or whether it's some kind of other sleep aids, what a lot of this stuff is said is that will help better than sleep aids. Okay, cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia, it's better than all of those. In fact, it's one of the best things you can do. Okay, insomnia, that's the major disorder that firefighters and any first responders have is insomnia. So it's like can't go to sleep or can't stay asleep. So if you were to rate yourself, 1 to 10, with 10 being the worst, can't go to sleep, think of a number, okay? So I'm going to say from 5 to 10, can't go to sleep. Raise your hand if you're in that category. 5 to 10, can't go to sleep. Okay. Okay. Now, can't stay asleep. 5 to 10, raise your hand. Okay. It's the staying asleep. Yeah. Kind of interesting, huh? So, all right.
Sleep easily.
You fall asleep? You can't stay asleep?
Like that, but 3 a.m. I'm awake.
3 a.m. Okay.
Because you need to pee?
Your mouth's
Okay. So I'm not going to go over the more disorders, but let's talk about, there's some other stuff that can happen, right? Waking up multiple times, diabetes, substance abuse, grinding teeth. Here's the diagnosis. Here's what it takes for insomnia. Okay? Dissatisfaction, trouble going to sleep, staying asleep. Okay? So early morning wakening, and 3 a.m. probably would do that. Significant distress at daytime impairment. So again, when I've talked to people who are suicidal, it doesn't mean you're suicidal, but it could impact that. It most definitely does. But if there's impairment or distress in your life, take a look first at your sleep. This is why I thought, you know what, I need to teach this. Because if we're distressed mentally at all, first take a look at your sleep. Okay? Not feeling refreshed. At least 3 nights each week for more than 3 months. And you can't have any other coexisting medical or mental disorders. So some of you may say, okay, that's actually the diagnosis. And some of you might be close to actually having that. Okay? So here's what we do. Sleep schedule. It is ultra hard for you to have a sleep schedule. Okay? Some of the challenges are like, well, all right, well, now what? Well, what do I do on my days off? Well, you try to recover. From what I understand is that first day is a recover day, and then you got 2 normal days, and then you're starting to ramp back up for work the next day. Okay? So, don't exercise, like I said, 2, 3, avoid caffeine and nicotine, alcohol before bed, large meals and beverages. Now, the beverages would mean it's because I'm going to wake up and go to urinate, so be careful of that. Too often, though, it's not good to wake up and be totally parched. Okay? Medication. There are certain kinds of medication that will delay or disrupt your sleep, so you need to take a look at that. Some medications have caffeine in them, and it just like the medication could be for whatever. Don't take naps after 3. Relax before bed. Okay? How do you relax? Well, we'll talk about that in a sec. Okay? A dark, a cool, and a gadget-free room. It's the gadgets.
Nope.
have the right sunlight exposure. If you're in bed more than 20 minutes, get up, go do something that's relaxing, and then try to go back to bed. Because you don't want to associate bedroom with anything but sex and sleep. Okay? Whoop, do you want me to go back?
Yeah, if you could, please, real quick.
Whoop, wrong way, geez.
Other lap.
Other back. Okay? All right. Sometimes it might be good to have separate beds. I know my great aunt and uncle, before they passed away, had separate beds, and I always thought it was weird. It was like, I Love Lucy. Like,
Does the couch count?
Yeah.
What about the doghouse?
Right, yeah, right. Okay, so circadian rhythms. If you're doing rotating shift work or you're working up late and you got to come home, you're like, I was up late, I'm sleeping. So there's differences between naps and fully sleeping. Now the key is to try to rejuvenate yourself right before going back to bed. So if you go home, sleep, but try not to sleep so much that it interrupts your going to sleep. That's the weird and difficult thing. Okay?
That was
Because
the hard thing for me for a long time. I'd go home and I'd crash for like 7 hours, and then I'd be up all night again.
yep.
So now I set an alarm, and if I don't nap in that 2-hour alarm,
You're up.
it sucks, but I'm up.
Yep. That's what you've got to do. I will tell you, it will jack you up otherwise. So even though you're working, assuming you're not working a couple of firefighting jobs, okay, your shift, then you come home, nap. No naps afternoon, okay? And you need to rejuvenate. Now, ideally, and I've seen different science on this. Some of it says 30-minute naps. Some of it says 20-minute naps. Some of it out of one study that was specific to law enforcement that said 30 to 90-minute naps.
I like that study.
Yeah. So to me, that's not a bad one. So if you go home and you need some hard sleep, again, it depends on how much. I would try to limit it so it doesn't jack up with your sleep that night. Now, one of the other things, Dr. Jordan Peterson, some of you may know, okay, used to lecture at Harvard. He said this: I have clients who are high depression and high anxiety. And depression and anxiety are usually in line with the post-traumatic stress. Okay, so whatever it is, depression and anxiety. He said, I ask about their sleep, and he says, no matter what time they go to bed, I tell them to wake up the same time every day. And then waking up the same time every day, and as soon as they wake up, eat a high-protein, high-fat breakfast. High-protein, high-fat, no carbs, no sugars. Because he says what happens is they do something stressful or they're stressed, it mops up all the blood sugar, they become hypoglycemic and psychophysiologically unstable all day. And it won't reset until they fast all night again by sleeping. He says the clients who have depression and anxiety who come to see me, if they just do those two things, wake up at the same time every day, and as soon as they wake up, high fat, high protein, no carbs, no sugars, as soon as they wake up, he said they'll return to their baseline. So what happens? I'm like, okay, I'm a science guy. I'm like, all right. So I have my scrambled eggs in the morning, and my son comes home, and he's we're about to kick him out again now, and he gets his bowl full of Fruity Pebbles, and I'm like, that is not good for your brain or your body. Okay, so if we look at sleep from why are we having problems with sleep? Well, if we go back 100 years, you're eating eggs, bacon, greasy, fat, delicious, yummy stuff, okay? And they were waking up when the cock crowed, and they were working and exercising. And they didn't have the incandescent light bulbs, okay? Or they didn't have screens on everywhere. So now when it got dark, they went to bed. And they woke up and they ate a hearty breakfast. I think just that alone could be very beneficial for us. I really, really do. Now, if you don't want your high cholesterol stuff, that's fine. There's a bunch of other stuff you can have that's high in protein and high in fat. Fat will not make you fat. Okay? There's so much science on a lot of that, mental health and what foods to eat. right now, the ketogenic diet and the Mediterranean diet with intermittent fasting are the best things for your own wellness. Okay, here's the most effective way to improve your sleep, regular sleep habits. Go to bed at the same time, wake up at the same time. Now, can you do that in your 48s? Nope. But you can try to make that a habit on the other days, unless you're doing some more work. Okay? Lots and lots of fires need to be put out. Lots and lots of work needs to be done. And I get it. Like having a second job, who does? Wait a minute, who doesn't have a second job, by the raise of hands in here? Who doesn't have a second job? One? You don't? Okay. Well, you don't?
Yeah.
Yet? She's like, yeah. She's looking. Okay. It's very normal. I even told my son, I'm like, get a second job. But I actually warned him. Just because of what I've seen, I said, don't get a second fire job. Okay? Because it's not great for your sleep. Unless it is. I know there's a few stations and a few locations that are not bad. Just go there and sleep. Okay? All right. All right. Oh, sheesh. Set an alarm for bedtime, enlist family support. Some of that has already been listed. All right. What are some things to help you go to sleep? Here's some things. Decelerate before bed. Deep breathing.
Is it 61? Yeah, it must be closer. Yeah.
Are we going, Josh? Yep. Okay. Decelerating before going to bed. That means like do something that's relaxing to you. Thanks for coming. I knew I'd say something that offended half the group. Just kidding. Some deep breathing, okay? Take it deep in and breathe it out. And then the longer breaths out, now we can breathe fast out, but the longer we hold it out, will activate parasympathetic nervous system. What is progressive relaxation? Anyone know?
Is that where you like do the muscles from toe to head
Yep.
type of thing, like tense them and then relax them?
Yep, exactly. That actually can work. There's a bunch of other stuff that's good. One of the things you can do that I learned the other day is just even an arm squeeze. So you start at the wrist, you squeeze the arm, and you just go up. Excuse me, and then go back down. Cognitive shuffling. This is Sarah informed me on this a couple weeks ago. I'm like, or a week ago, or whatever it was. I'm like, I've got to include this here. Okay. Think of several random words or objects, or pick a letter in the alphabet. Okay. So if I say N, like November, and then listen to your heartbeat in every 8 heartbeats. Okay. Then you think of a word that starts with N. So think of a word that starts with N. And it can be random, it doesn't matter. Narcan, that's funny. N. Never.
Narcolepsy.
Narcolepsy. No. Name. Nobody. So all of a sudden what's happened is this is a cognitive shuffling. So if your brain is racing and you can't go to sleep, this actually just detracts from it. It does something to say, okay, I'm thinking, okay, think of something different. It's cognitive shuffling. And sometimes it can be enough to just like, oh, okay, calm you down and help.
Jeff, I know one of the tricks I do is turn on some music just really, really low, just again, shift my brain
Good. Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of tricks that we just need to try. Sometimes, sometimes it's hard. Okay, benefits of sleep. We talked about some of the bad stuff. Look at some of the good stuff. Emotional stability, decreases depression, decreases stress, enhances mental health, boosts feeling of happiness, makes better decisions. Okay, here's some interesting stuff. REM. Now, REM sleep is when you're closing your eyes, obviously your eyeballs are moving back and forth. Dreaming, by the way, can occur during REM or NREM, or non-REM sleep. Okay, REM sleep gives energy boost to the brain and the body. It gives you better daytime support. Sleep is essential for body repair and maintenance. Those who sleep more make more money. It's science. Now I'm like, what if I told that to firefighters? They'd have to go get another job. Maybe you sleep more and you realize, you know what, I need to go find another job. Not another fire job. Anyway, increases honesty, makes less mistakes. REM sleep will help you read facial expressions. I actually think this is really important, and I learned of this when I was working as a police officer still. It's like, hey, if I can read somebody's facial expressions, or even better, not from a law enforcement, but even better for my relationship with my kids and my wife. If I can read and understand facial expressions better, how that would change that at home. But how might it change it at work with my coworkers? How might it change it with the public? Okay? So the better sleep we get, the better we're able to read cues and not misread them. Here's something interesting. That's science. Okay? Boosts physical energy, gives your body immunity, energy, productivity, enthusiasm, creativity, and efficiency. Okay? Oh, there's the references. Well, there you go. Look at that. Science, people. Now, what are you gonna... Maybe we'll just leave it right there. I'm just kidding. My son's like...
Can you go back to the references?
Yeah. My son's like,
Why you don't
I'm ready to
see
get
that?
married.
Because I'm a nerd.
Because I'm a nerd.
No, you own it, Chris. I love that for you.
I got two. I got one more. Whoops. Oh, wait.
Wow.
Oh yeah, I put that first one this one. Okay. All right. Look at that. Look at that happy baby. I don't know about you, but
14 to 17 hours a day.
That's all they do is sleep.
that's all they do, right? That's all they do.
I beg to differ.
I don't even know if I was standing in. Oh yeah, you guys can see me. Hey, I don't know.
They're not.
Oh, they left.
They left.
They're like, I'm
They're
out.
gone.
They left a long time ago.
Yeah, they went to
They left from
yeah.
that first one or this one?
This one.
This one.
Okay. 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 Well, so now that you know, what are some things that you want, or I guess there's a question. It's like, do you have a desire to implement it? Do you have a desire to try to do this now that you know? Because knowing is one thing, implementing is another thing. What do you think? If you're, I'm just I like subjective units of measurement now from the 1 to 10. 10 meaning, yeah, I want to implement it, and here's what I think I'm going to do. So on a scale of 1, meaning 1's like, nah, I'm not really interested in implementing it, and 10 meaning, you know what, I'm ready to try, to give it a try. What's your level of wanting to give it a try?
5.
Oh, 5, so-so. You sleep pretty well, though.
Yeah.
She's only,
No?
She's only got 6 months on the job.
I know, right? It doesn't really count. She's like...
Yeah, at least 10 hours a day.
Seven.
About a 7. Oh, okay.
We're calling.
No, you don't have to say that to impress me.
Calling bullcrap.
Why not?
I'd say my desire is a 10, but I'm
Oh.
interested to see if it's actually going to work out. Like, if I'm going to be able to.
Okay, so here's the thing about that. Let's try to, crackheads can get crack.
Yeah.
Their desire for crack will make them do it. I'm like, be like a crackhead, okay?
Job security.
Crackheads are more motivated than you, right?
That's what I'm saying. They-
Probably
He can't say it to you, I can.
No, in all seriousness, no. Like, I'm sitting here thinking about, like, going to bed at the same time, waking up at the same time, and it's like, I'm thinking about my first couple days home after this shift.
Yeah.
I have stuff planned in the evening. It's going to be hard to be like, oh, I'm going to go to bed every night at 10 o'clock, and I'm going to wake up at, like, 6 or 7 in the morning and be productive and get all this stuff done. Because life gets in the way and
Yeah.
other things happen.
Yeah, and are you married?
Yes.
Okay, so sometimes, excuses. So enlisting the help of the family is always, that's a hard thing. You have kids?
Yeah, 7-month-old.
Ha! So
Yeah.
forget about it. Don't even
Pretty
worry
much.
about it until later.
This is stress free.
Listen, wait till you retire, and then when you're retired, you won't be able to sleep either. What's some takeaways, thoughts, takeaways that you've learned, something that you've learned that's different or new?
That I've had shitty sleep my entire life, and I will continue to have shitty sleep for the rest of my
You
life.
want?
Yes,
you want to,
Pat.
I didn't mean to say. Hey,
I really have always been, even when I was junior high school, it was routine for me to sleep 4 hours and be fine.
No kidding.
I'm functioning just fine. That's just how I've been, and I accept that, and I embrace it to a certain degree.
Do
because
other captains or chiefs in here think that he functions just fine? I didn't want to ask this.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah.
No, I
Okay. You
think
might be one of the exceptions.
I feel like I am one of those exceptions because I work
I mean,
here.
he's kinda grumpy sometimes.
That's just my golf can, I don't get to go play golf, so that's. But I work here, I work in air medical transport.
Where? Which one?
My flight. So, and I work day shifts and night shifts there, 24-hour shifts, so we're,
Yep.
at any given time, I could be up, so I just have had, my body, I think, and my attitude have just shifted to sleep when I can
Yep.
and do what I need to do to the rest of the time. And I'm, I try to get a nap in. I tell my crew all the time, hey, it was a rough night. Take a nap. Go take a nap before they go home. I have a couple of that live in, far away. He used to be on my crew. He lives in Logan. Another guy who lives here is Logan. We've had a couple of people who lived in Utah County. I'm like, hey, are you okay to drive home?
Good.
If not, go take a nap before you go home. Make sure you get home, or Bronson would.
We made Bronson go to his.
Bronson would go to his
multiple
parents who
times.
live in Ogden, and he would sleep there for a couple, 3 hours before he drove home, so. For me, I think, I understand all this, I know all this. I've tried a lot in the recent times to be more cognizant of my evening, whatever, blue screen time. As far as like what I'm doing stuff on the computer or, that sort of thing, or just playing a game on the phone or whatever. I try to really curtail that and get back to reading more.
Good.
Before I go to bed, and just
More
kind of
calm.
shutting the TV down, shutting everything else down, and reading, whether it's a golf magazine or a novel or something like that, and just kind of really relaxing that. But
Golf will put you to sleep for sure.
well, and we do, like so golf starts at 2 o'clock today. So,
Nice.
but you're not
Hopefully it's not too
not
hot.
supposed to nap after 3 o'clock, but whatever.
I'll plan on 2 o'clock now.
There you go.
That's
But,
the wind down.
huh?
That's the wind down.
That's the wind down. Yeah. I've really steered away from caffeine at night.
Good.
That sort of thing, so I know what my body does and I know how to manage it, and I feel pretty comfortable where I'm at. I know there's times when I need more sleep and I actually get more sleep.
Good.
And there's other times when I'm just like, okay, I have this and this and this, I gotta work at Life Flight tomorrow, I have to be up by 4:30 so I can make it to Roosevelt on time, or I have to be, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And, that's just kind of my life,
Yeah.
I've been doing this for a long, long time.
And I've always said that if I had to live a second career over, I think I'd do that.
Yeah.
Because Life Flight, I think, would be awesome.
Yeah,
And
it beats the shit out of working for a living.
right. Well, cool. Well, who has a TV in the room?
Yeah.
Good thing it's never on.
Yeah.
You know, keep it on. My wife likes to turn it on, and I walked home the other day, and my kids are sitting in my bed watching me. Get out of here! There's TV in my room. I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, I don't know. Sometimes it's nice to just lay in bed and watch a movie, try to unwind. But we know that 30 minutes of TV or 30 minutes of social media will tend to exhaust you, not fatigue you to the point where you want to sleep, but just exhaust you. It starts to sap your energy. Take homes, takeaways. What do you think?
Honestly, I got a couple new books I want to read. That's my take.
Kind of my takeaway is that it's an active pursuit. This is something that you have to work for and try for.
Yeah.
It is not going to come naturally. We have, like you said, we have so many things pitted against us that, like today I realized that, like I've wanted more sleep, right? And I've been making efforts, but like this is just like if it's worth having, it's gonna be work. And you have to do the work. You have to set the alarms. You have to be cognizant of what's going on and what you're doing to, and follow through with it. I've been trying to do my therapist was really challenged me to get up at the same time. I gave him all the excuses. He's like, you can excuse yourself or not, but if you're not gonna do it, you're not gonna get the benefits. So like getting up at 6, that's what I have to do to get up at the same time, because otherwise I have a million other things that may or may not wake me up. So I've been trying to get up at 6, so that way it's consistency.
Sweet.
So, and like we were on a call last night at 4, went back to bed at 5, and I was up at 6 because I want to, carry that on. So it's hard.
I'm not that hardcore.
This is hard.
No,
Well, we
that's
slept
good.
for a few hours before that too, though, so.
You want
A few
that
hours.
crap, don't you?
How
I
long
want
does it
that
take
crap.
for this to help? Because, I mean, I've been on days now for almost a year and a half, same kind of thing. I'm in bed at 10 every night, and my alarm goes off at 6 a.m. every morning, even on the weekends, which might cause a divorce, by the way. Because it pisses her off, because it wakes her up too.
Call Sarah.
But, like I'll wake up at 3 a.m. I can't remember the last time I had a dream. Like I don't sleep at all, toss and turn, I'm angry. So I like, when's it gonna help?
I don't know, in cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia is some of the best stuff that you can do. I like to try to say, okay, here's some of the key points, and maybe I'll go back to that slide. Here's some of the things that science recommends to do, and maybe see if you can get, there you go. So try to assess some of those things. Now there's a handful of different ones. This is from the National Institute of Medicine. To try to say, okay, am I doing these things? And then based on those things, okay, now what? Is there something else? The older we get, the harder it is to sleep longer, frankly. Okay, and some of that waking up might have been from just cortisol levels. It could be from other stresses. So trying to figure out, okay, what other stresses are. It might be the stress that you have your alarm going off on the weekends and your wife doesn't like it. I don't know. The thing is, trying something new is hard. Way hard. But I don't know. Please, Sarah.
One of the things that I've had to work on with myself is that telling myself that my pillow is not for problem solving. And I have to actually, I literally tell myself that in my head, that my pillow's not for problem solving. And then if I think of things I need to do, I will either put them in my phone, send myself a text, or put them on my calendar, so I don't have to try and go, I need to remember that in the morning. I will put it in my phone or write it down, and then I don't have to keep on worrying about it and going, I gotta remember that tomorrow. And then it's off my plate. I try and do that too. So, and then we was talking about that as you relax yourself. There's times when I find myself holding my head up on the pillow. I'm still trying to be awake laying down, standing up laying down. And I go, God, the pillow, I need to let the pillow support my head instead of having all my muscles be tight, because they get really tight in my shoulders. And I have to force myself to go, let those muscles go. Let the pillow hold your head up, and that really helps. So self-talk.
Thank you. There's something called relaxation-induced anxiety, where it's like, and there was a comment earlier, it's like, we're always ready to do something, always ready to go to help. Can we really relax ourselves to the point where we can say, okay, I can relax and just drift off and be fine, that everything's going to be okay, that I don't have to wake up. And I wonder if, especially with firefighters, like that relaxation-induced anxiety is like, can you really 100% relax? Can you? I will tell you one of the things that's beneficial. I don't know if you have it at this station or whatever station you're working at, where they have the tones only going off in your room, that only for your call.
We have that for all of our stations too.
That's good, because it.
Now, whether or not it
Yeah.
works is the question.
Downstairs in the basement? It
Basement of
works.
53 is horrible. You hear everything.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you, everybody, and holler with any questions anytime. You got our phone numbers, and give us a text. I do sleep, I try to sleep at night, but I keep my phone on, just in case, somebody needs stuff, and I just live over here in Layton.
Call
so-
you when I wake up.
Yeah, thanks. That's funny. Okay, awesome.
It's
Well,
funny
thank
until
you.
he doesn't.
Yeah, I know. All right, send me a text. My buddies I have a few buddies here and there who text me at like 12. I'm like, mute. I don't get their text anymore fast because they text too late. All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness. Such a big stretch.
I guess I just pull this thing out and it should stop, right? Pop. All right, there you go.
Yeah, I don't know.
Figure a lot of money.